Hello everyone watching this video. Welcome back to our channel, and today I'm going to be sharing with you more about communication, both internal and external communication. Growing up, I used to think that communication was key until I realized comprehension is. You can communicate all you want to someone, but if they do not understand you, it won't reach them the way you need it to. So let us see different ways in which people can communicate both in the business and the society overall for them to make sure the message is received well by the recipient. So to begin with, let's see what this topic has for us. You need to understand why effective communication is important and the methods used to achieve it. So you need to understand the importance of communication to businesses, its benefits and limitations of the various methods of communication, which includes some which are based on the IT, and be able to recommend and justify which method can be used to match or for various circumstances a business can experience. And you need also to understand the barriers which can also affect communication. Get to know more about them, the barriers, as well as the solutions or the ways in which can use to curb those various barriers to communication. So let's talk first about effective communication. You need to understand the meaning of the term communication. It is simply the transferring of a message from one sender or from the sender to the receiver who understands the message. So messages should be conveyed through various mediums of communication. We'll talk more about that as we go. At the moment you convey a message, there comes what we call communication. So internal one, actually, it exists between two members of the same organization. So if two people or maybe more people within the organization communicate, it can be between departments. They can use the notice boards or circulars to workers, the signboards and labels inside the factories and offices, all that it affects or it happens within an organization. So it's called internal communication. And the moment you go on to communicate internally well, workers, they tend to understand what they have to do because their job descriptions, they become known to everybody. And also their roles that they play in the organization, they are known to everybody. So they tend to understand who they are and what role they need to play in the organization to reduce the duplication of efforts where two or more people are performing the same role. And also it motivates employees, which leads to an increase in efficiency. So the moment you communicate with them, you tell them what you want to achieve as a business, when and how, all that, when they understand that, they become motivated. The spirit to work actually is going to be improved. And also, you tend to experience less wastages. It can be time taken to perform a task. It's going to be reduced because they understand what they're supposed to do, when and how. So they will not go on to waste too much time, as well as other resources are going to be used effectively and efficiently. So, and also we have what we call external communication. This one, it exists or it happens between organizations and other organizations or other individuals of other organizations. So, for example, you communicate with your suppliers about the orders that you want. It can be particular materials that you need to produce your products. You communicate with the suppliers. Businesses also advertise their products through various channels. It's a way as well of communicating with their various customers. The moment you send customers, it can be the offers that you are having as a business. You are communicating, you're advertising your product, communicating with them. And if you keep on communicating with your customers effectively, the customers, they'll become happy. The moment they become happy, it improves the customer loyalty, and also they'll keep on coming back to buy your products again and again. And this leads to more sales being experienced by the business. And the moment as well you communicate with your stakeholders, external stakeholders, it improves the business image, or simply the reputation of the business is going to be improved. And overall, this in turn increases the sales that you can make as a business. And also, the moment you communicate effectively with your stakeholders, you're going to create a good relationship between you and all the stakeholders that you deal with externally. For example, the suppliers, the customers, the government, or whoever it is, are going to have a trust bond relationship, because you can communicate well with them without leaving any room for questions or doubts about your business activities. All right, that's all about this part here. So there are what we call the elements or the features of effective communication. First thing, there should be a transmitter or a sender of the message. Secondly, we have what we call the medium of communication. So you can communicate using a letter or a telephone conversation or a text message. And thirdly, we can go on to use, we have what we call the receiver of the message, the receiver or simply the recipient of the message. Then we have what we call the feedback or response from the receiver to confirm that the message has been received and acknowledged. So the moment the receiver go on to receive and understand the message, the contents of the message, next thing, they are supposed to also provide the feedback to the sender to acknowledge that they've seen or received the message that you have sent. So as you can see on our screen there is a picture there of two girls, Tandeka and Ayanda. Tandeka actually is the sender of the message, and she is using a cell phone to communicate with Ayanda, and the cell phone becomes the medium, and Ayanda is the recipient of the message, and they're communicating over there. Right, Tandeka is asking like the time at which the movie starts, and also if Ayanda can be available to drive them. And there's a response there as well from Ayanda. She said, yeah, be there by 8:30. So that's feedback, meaning to say Ayanda was in a position to understand the message which was sent by Tandeka. So they go on to give a feedback to acknowledge the receipt of the message. All right. So there are some terms you need to understand in this chapter. The first one here is formal communication. So when messages are sent through established channels using professional language, that message actually tends to be recognized and approved by the business, especially when you use the formal emails, official meetings, and also the reports which are approved by the business. That is defined as formal communication channels, which we all know and understand are going to be used to send the message. Then we have what we call informal communication. It's known also as the grapevine in the business spheres and social spheres, not simply as the gossip or the rumors. It's simply the information that is sent and received casually using the everyday language. So maybe during the break time, you can simply go and have a chat with your colleagues or your friends and discuss about anything that may affect you as the employees in a particular organization. Is defined as informal communication. There are no channels, there is no leader, or there is no also the sender or the recipient which is intended to get that message. It's meant for everyone, just for us to pass the day. But some managers, they tend to use also this channel of informal communication to test their business ideas. And if the colleagues there tend to act as if they accept the idea, then the manager may go on to implement their ideas formally after testing their ideas through the informal communication. Then we have what we call also the one-way communication. This involves a message which doesn't require a feedback. For example, signs saying no smoking, or instructions saying deliver the goods to a customer. Those ones actually, they're simply one way from the sender to the recipient. And normally businesses or some businesses, they tend to use such way of communicating, especially the leaders who are autocratic. They tend to simply give the instructions or commands to their subordinates without expecting to receive any feedback from them or questions. So they tend to use what you call the one-way communication. But the employees or the managers who are democratic, they tend to have what you call the two-way communication. When the receiver gives a response to the message received and there is a chat about it, it ensures that the person receiving the message understands it and also he has done something about it. It also makes the receiver feel more a part of the process, and can be used as a way of motivating employees. So it tends to involve the two parties, both the sender of the message and the recipient. They'll go on to discuss and go on to share common ground about a particular message. So it's called two-way communication. Then we have what we call downward communication. That's the one which is from the managers to the subordinates, from the top going downwards. So it's called downward communication, from the superior to the subordinates. Then when you are giving now feedback, then it becomes what we call upward communication, when the recipient of the message goes on to give feedback to their managers that they've understood the message. So it comes from bottom to top of the structure of an organization. Then we have what we call the horizontal communication, which happens or occurs between people on the same level. So if we are all employees in the same level and go on to interact and share ideas, it happens at the same level. So it's called the horizontal communication. So we have three types of ways in which people or businesses can communicate. The first one here, we have the first type is through the verbal methods. Verbal, it means it can also be called oral communication. It involves the sharing of words or voice. So it can happen through telephone conversations, the face-to-face conversations, the video conferencing, and the meetings as well can be used for verbal communication. Benefits of it is very much quick and efficient, because it happens there and there. If you want to communicate something, give somebody a call and they're going to get your message instantly. So it's very much quick and efficient. And there is also an opportunity for feedback to be given by the recipient to the sender. You can go on to ask questions and the sender can go on to explain as well some areas which may be very much ambiguous. The sender will be available to clarify those areas. And also the speaker may go on to reinforce the message, or maybe they can go on to change their tone, their body language, in order for them to influence the listeners. So all these are benefits of the verbal methods. But however, there are some drawbacks as well, which this type here carries. It can take long if there is feedback, and therefore discussions can end up happening. So you may go on to spend more time trying to justify and clarify some points. And by doing that, can spend ages before the recipient understands, or before the two parties understand each other. So reaching a common ground can be time consuming if there are complex issues being discussed. And also in a meeting, it's not guaranteed that everybody is listening or has an understanding of the message. Some people, they are slow to catch, but some, they're very much fast to catch the message. So in such a case now, someone may go home without understanding what exactly the sender was saying. So that's also a problem. If you are many also in the auditorium, the message can be heard differently. And also, in some cases, they cannot be some written records to which some people can refer to at a later stage to confirm the words which were shared on a particular day. Some people, they tend to want to check the references or to refer back to what has been said. But if you have done a face-to-face conversation, there is no other record you can refer to. So it's also a challenge somehow. Secondly, we have what you call the written methods. These ones can either be the letters, the memos, the text messages, the reports, the email, the social media, the faxes, notices, signboards, websites, etc. There are a variety of written methods that can be shared. Benefits of these ones here, there is evidence of the message for later reference. So someone can keep on opening the website to check what has been posted 3 years ago. The data or the details may still be available, which will be a great benefit to the recipient if they want to refer to such a message. And also it can include details, the address of the sender, the time the text was sent, explanations, diagrams can also be part of the written methods. So that is also a benefit. And also it can be copied and sent to many people, especially with an email. You can go on to CC many people or BCC many people. Nowadays, there is WhatsApp. WhatsApp can be used as well to forward the same message to a variety of people. So it's also a benefit if you're going to use the written methods. Many people are going to receive the same message within some few seconds if there is internet wherever they are. And also email and fax as well is quick and cheap. You can go on to use that as well. Nowadays, if there is internet around you, emails can be sent through to a variety of recipients all over the world within a short period of time. But however, feedback may not always be possible straight to the sender. Sometimes some people, they are far from locations where there's internet, so they'll take time to see the message you have sent, and they will also correspond later when their response may not be needed anymore. So feedback may not be available when you need it as the sender. And also it cannot ensure that the message has been received or acknowledged. For example, emails, you may not know if the recipient has seen the message or not until they go on to respond to it. Then you know that they've received the message. And language used could also be difficult to understand. Some people, they use jargons or technical terms when communicating with the recipients. So the recipient may not be much knowledgeable about those terms used. So that's also a barrier to communication. And there may be no one to ask the meaning of such terms. So that would be meaningless on the part of the recipient. And sometimes some people, they have a gift of sending long messages and they may cause disinterest in receivers. So you're encouraged to shorten your message, try to be short and precise. And also there is no opportunity for body language to be used to reinforce the messages. So in such a case, someone may fail to understand your tone or even the meaning as well of the message if there is no one doing some body languages when they are communicating their message. And thirdly, we have what we call the visual methods. These ones, visual, all about seeing. All right, we see diagrams, we see charts, we see videos, the presentations, the photographs, the cartoons, the posters, etc. I guess we all know all this. And the benefits of this, you can present information in an appealing and attractive way. All right, so I can put some graphs, some colors, and that may also go on to be attractive on the part of the recipient of the message, and they may want to read more about such a message. to understand it more if there are some pictures or graphs which are more interesting on their part. And it can be used along with written materials, like the diagrams and charts can as well be part of a report, which there is some written content as well. So nowadays, if you communicate using your diagrams, make sure there's also some written content to support the diagram, because some people may fail to understand the diagram if they don't know much about the meaning of it. So you can go on to combine the two. But however, in some cases, there may be no feedback at all from the recipient. If you post your posters all over the streets, the shops, everywhere there are posters, some people may not go on to give you feedback directly. So they may not make some great meaning to them or to you as well, may not know as well if the recipient has understood the message you intended to send to them. And in some cases, those charts, the diagrams may not be understood or interpreted properly by the recipient, because people, they carry different meanings of things. So you have failed to communicate if there is no some written content to support your diagrams or your presentations or charts, etc. Let's talk about the factors that affect your choice of an appropriate method of communicating. First one here is speed. Nowadays, people, they want instant things. When it comes to communication, it should be instant. The moment you send a message, you'll be waiting for a response from the recipient within a second. So if now it takes longer period of time for me to get the feedback, then it might not be an effective way of communicating. So people tend to use WhatsApp messages, WhatsApp calls, emails, telephones. It just depends which one is faster on your part. So speed is the first one. Cost as well. Some companies, they wish to keep their costs down, and they may prefer to use the letters, the face-to-face meetings as a medium of communication. Otherwise, in some cases, telephone or posters may be used. But if that method is going to cost us more to an extent that they will affect our profits, then the business may not go on to employ such a method. And thirdly, here we talk about the message details. So if you want to explain in detail about a particular topic, then you can go on to use the written and the visual methods. But if it's going to be like 2 sentences, 3 words to be shared with the recipient, then you can go on to use a WhatsApp message or a call. Telephone call can be good for that. Then the leadership style. We have the democratic, the autocratic, and also the laissez-faire leaders that we have. So normally the democratic leadership styles, those leaders, they tend to use two-way communication to also accommodate the subordinates who may wish to give the feedback or ask questions about a particular topic. But this is common when it comes to schools or some other business organizations. But security forces, they tend to use autocratic style of leadership when there is only a one-way communication. The leader is supposed to send instructions or commands to their subordinates and expects no feedback from the subordinates. So they may use the notices and announcements, and that will be it. And another one here is the receiver. The receiver. If there's only a receiver, then a personal face-to-face or a telephone call will be more apt. But if all the stuff is to be send a message, then you can't go on to have a chat with every employee. Sometimes you have got maybe 1,000 employees in your organization. It may take ages for you to finish talking to each and every staff member. So rather send a notice or simply an email can be sent in such a case, which can reach every one of us within some few seconds or minutes. Then next part is about the importance of a written record. There are some messages which need to be kept for future reference. So those messages, they need to be written at all costs, not to go on for verbal communication. Now, the legal documents, the receipts of new customer orders, etc., they need to be written so that there will be some evidence to be produced later on if the other party breaches your contract. Can go on to refer to the written source. And also the importance of feedback. There are some messages that you expect to receive feedback from from the recipient. In such a case, you need to go on to use the verbal or the written method, like emails where they can go on to respond, and also the telephone calls, they may go on as well to give you some feedback instantly. So you need to understand that. But if you are simply advertising a product to all the people in a community, you may simply use posters because you don't mind much to hear their viewpoints instantly, but later on through them coming to buy your products. All right, then that's all about these factors which can affect you when it comes to choosing the best method. So the next area is about the barriers to effective communication, of which a barrier is simply anything that stops or hinders the effective communication. So since we now understand the 4 features or elements of effective communication, which are the sender, the medium, the receiver, and the feedback, that is where the problems will emanate from. So if one of these features fail, that means there's going to be a breakdown in communication, which results in some serious consequences to the businesses. Let us explore some of these barriers according to those 4 features. First one here are the problems with the sender. If the sender is going to use some complex or difficult to understand language, or simply the technical jargons which the receiver may fail to understand, then there is no effective communication. So they should try by all means to use simple language which the receiver can go on to make meaning out of it, or to simply understand the message sent. The second one is about the problems with the verbal means of communication. Some senders, they speak too quickly, to which the receiver may fail to quickly understand what the sender is saying. So they should try by all means to send the message clearly, as clear as possible, and ask the feedback from the receiver so that they can go on to see if they are following well the message they are communicating with them. And also, the sender may send a wrong message to the wrong receiver, so that won't make meaning to the receiver. So this can happen. Maybe I can go on to use a wrong email, or maybe can go on to type wrongly an email and can be sent to another person that you don't intend to communicate with. So you must check as the sender, try by all means to check the email address to see if it's correct, and also the name of the person to see if it is being sent to the right person, that will make it to become effective. The right message to the right person. And also the email address should be correct if you are going to be using the mail to communicate. And also sometimes the message can be too long with too much detail, which prevents the main points from being understood. So you as the sender, try by all means to simplify. Write a short and precise message and send it through to the recipient. And for you to write 10 pages of which you want to communicate only 3 or 4 points, which you can go on to put in some short message that the recipient can easily understand. So make your message to be short, brief, and precise, to be brief. The main points should be clear, and by doing that, the recipient can understand them well. And next things about the problems with the medium. Some, they use telephones to make some phone calls. These mediums, actually, they may go on to be affected in a way that the message can become lost, and sometimes it may fail to be delivered, or sometimes the recipient may change their email address, so it won't go on to reach the recipient. So try by all means to check for feedback. If there is none, try to resend the message to ensure that it is received. The second one here is about the wrong channel being used. Some customers, for example, they tend to use WhatsApp a lot and not Instagram or Facebook. So try to see which channel is most popular for you to reach all your potential customers, and then you use that appropriate channel that will allow you to attract more customers. So try to understand the stakeholders you are communicating with, which channel do they use the most, and use that one to reach out to them. And also, some messages may end up being distorted after moving down a long chain of command. And by doing so, each office now may go on to amend or change the meaning of the message, and it will reach the recipient distorted, and that affects actually communication. So it is very much wiser for organization to have a shorter chain of command. The shorter the chain of command, the more effective the message or the process of communication will become. And next one is about technical breakdown of the medium. Internet can become slower or poor. The machines we use may be affected by the viruses. Talk about some machines may break down. Electricity poles may break down. Also, the power shortages can affect also communication in some areas. So in that case, try by all means to find better forms of communication that you can use to reach out to your stakeholders, which will not be affected by such problems that you might face with one of the mediums. And next one is about the receiver. The receiver may fail to pay attention or to listen to your message. Maybe they have their own reasons. Some may be stressed, some they are biased, and they may go on now to not pay attention to what you are saying. So during the process of communicating, try by all means to emphasize some points, as well as to request feedback from them most oftenly. And by doing that, they will keep on engaged in the process of communication, and they will learn more through that. And also, the receiver may fail to trust the sender and may be willing to act upon the message. So if normally a message comes from a subordinate and you are a superior, you may not take the message seriously because you may fail to trust or to hear what your subordinate is saying. So that may also affect. So try by all means to create first a trust bond, a relationship between you and the other people you want to communicate with. And by doing that, they can go now to easily accept whatever message you are sending to them. And in some cases, if you fail to communicate with them, use another sender to communicate the message to that particular recipient. All right, next part is about the problems with the feedback. In some cases, there can be no feedback at all. Someone may decide not to respond to a message. So if they do that, try by all means to ask for the feedback. Or maybe you can go on to use a different method of communication, which allows instant feedback to be provided. For example, meetings can be organized. You ask and they will respond. And by doing that, you can go on to have some feedback real quick. And in some cases, the feedback received can be slow, or maybe they may go on to distort the message. So in that case, now it affects communication. So try by all means to create some direct lines of communication so that there is a good link between the subordinate and the manager, and reduce unnecessary bureaucracy in between. At least they can go on to send the message straight to you as a subordinate or to you as the manager, and that can also improve the feedback. All right, so that's all about this topic here. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something from this content shared. And if there are any questions, feel free to contact me through my email shown on the screen. You guys have a lovely moment. I'll see you again in my next video. Ciao.